What's up, people? This is like my 10th time recording this, and I was like, dang, nobody wants to watch a 15-minute video on how to do something. So I'm gonna make this short and sweet. Y'all trying to learn your Mendelssohn cadenzas, your Paganini ones, where you gotta do your Ricochet bows like. How do we do that? All your professional violinists in their videos say, just let your bow do your work. Let the bow do your thing. They don't exactly tell you how to let them do that. Here's some easy tips. Bow, gotta be tight, gotta be expensive. Bow range, whoosh, whoosh, right? My hump is right here, your hump is probably right around here, my bow is kind of messed up. Very tiny amount of space, okay? Flat hand, most of it, you're being held like this, you're using this for your balance. You don't really want or need this unless you're beginning the motion. So, you're just going, you start with this, but when it's bouncing, you let it go. You see how as soon as I let go of those fingers, your bow just goes like this, right? This is the key. Just let your bow fall, just like this. I'm just gonna let it fall. Just gonna take off pressure here. You see, if the violin wasn't here, it would just fall easily like this, right? Just try and practice that. Just let it free fall. Test whether you want a slower bow. The lower you go, the harder it is to bounce. Higher you go, it bounces way too much. You can use this for other types of ricochets. But in the terms of the ricochet where you're doing multiple strings, Goldilocks zone, right around the middle or so. Just let it fall. Just let it fall. Okay? Secondly, make sure that your elbow is below your hand at all times. You don't want your elbow like this. You don't want your hand super high again. Make sure that your hand is flat. Okay? Making sure your elbow is below the wrist at all times. You see how I'm not moving the bow at all in terms of like how much space I use? Alright? Next thing, make sure your violin is flat. This means that if you're playing like this, you're going to try and ricochet off of the top 3 strings. You're going to tilt a little bit to make the violin a bit more flat. Otherwise, it's really hard to get the bounce to return the very top. So with the top 3 strings, just a little bit of leaning back to make this a little flatter. And if you want to get the top 3 strings, make sure that it's really flat. So instead of like this, gotta lean back a little bit to make your violin flatter. Make sure that your hair, your bow hair, getting maximum contact Gotta make sure that your bow is moving flat up and down the whole time. Next, make sure that your bow never goes to the outside of the strings. What does that mean? Well, here's the outside of the G string. Here's the outside of the A string that I was using. We can be doing 4 strings, but let's just do 3 strings. Make sure that you're staying within the inside of the strings when you're playing. So what does that mean? Your bow's not going all the way over here. It's not going all the way over here. So really just a little bit in the in-between. Just a little bit in the in-between. Not a huge elbow motion where you're trying to get the outside of the strings. Just a tiny elbow motion to get the inside of the strings. A lot of the contact is still around the D string here. Yeah? That's all I got. I can probably go into much more details, but when you're starting to make sound, make sure that the amount of bow that you use only goes up by this much. Tiny bit. Alright, cool. Happy practicing, people.